white. It was mostly white high school. And 3 students were from kind of the east side of Green Bay, from Green Bay, but they were African American and they were from a low income family. They got vouchers from the federal government to come to our school because they did very well in middle school. And if those vouchers never existed, I would have never had a different perspective and just to see other kinds of people. So I think that the voucher thing, I think it's good. But I guess we just have different experiences. So.
And we know Green Bay is just the hood, right?
Hey, yeah, it's the ghetto.
Okay, we'll let you get to that. Because something was brought up here, whether it's education or healthcare. Someone asked during the last debate, and Senator Obama talked about it, but not quite directly, about healthcare. First, he thought it was a right. McCain thought it was a responsibility. But is healthcare a commodity? Remember the woman asked that question? Let's talk about it. Healthcare or education, or for that matter, things like energy. Are there certain things out there, commodities like tires and refrigerators, as I've often said, or are certain things out there different, or should they all be under the laws of the market? Because I know you were headed there.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just have to rebut Rue's point. I spent the summer in Washington D.C. and it's the worst school district in the nation. It's really the worst school district, and their public schools are completely failing there. Now, they instituted a voucher program there about 2 years ago, just to give it a test run and see how it was going. I think there were about 200 families that were instituted in it. All those families, nearly all of them are begging to keep the voucher program. These were like low income, bottom of the barrel. Families that just couldn't afford this. They got voucher programs. The kids are doing great in these schools, a lot better than public schools. Now, who are the people that are blocking the voucher program and trying to get it eliminated? They're the legislators there, the education, the unions there that find that money is being taken out of the public schools because they're failing. The families are begging for this, to keep the voucher programs there so their kids can get a good education. And the ones that are blocking it are the teachers' unions because they don't want to have the money taken away. And that's just, you see this doing time and time again with these voucher programs that families want them because they're working, but the people that are blocking it are legislatures and unions. One thing I'll speak about in dealing with the rights.
Do you think the voucher program should be not so broad, but strictly focused for lower income students? Is that what you're sort of suggesting? That's where it does work?
Yeah, I think in dealing, especially with people that can't afford. Voucher programs are made for everybody's going to be paying their taxes into education. Now, you have wealthier families that can pay for their private education on top of that. They don't need vouchers. You have these lower income people that can't afford to pay that much for a private school, but they get their vouchers so they get some money back that they would be putting into the schools. And it causes the governments, the public schools to wake up too. If they have a little bit less money because the kids don't want to go there, they're going to start waking up and starting to hire better teachers and do a better job with their education.
Okay. The commodity issue.
Sure. It's interesting to point out that the voucher program, we shouldn't run our healthcare, our education, as the ideas behind a commodity. They're not something that you can put in the free market and compete, because it's a service type thing. Education is a service that we require and offer to everyone K through 12. You're required to have some sort of schooling K through 12. So it's the impotence of the government to actually care about education as a national level. No Child Left Behind, the spirit behind it of actually offering help to all schools and standardizing all schools so that they can all offer some sort of semblance of education is in theory a good idea. But when you standardize schools so much that they can't even teach to other ideas except for a test, you fail ultimately at what your goal was. Going back to the idea of whether it's a commodity that can be sold like tires or refrigerators, it's not at all. Education is something that we have in this country because we see it as important to educate our students. By increasing the idea of going into the charters, by going into the voucher program, how are students going to be able to go to those? How are people going to stay in the public schools if there's no money being put into them? It's interesting to look at the Waukesha School District, which has a couple of schools. But one of them has extremely nice schools, extremely nice books, lockers. Everything is extremely nice there because they have more wealthy parents there, but more sway on the school board and that type of thing. Well, the other schools have less nice things because of the fact that, indeed, they don't have the political sway in the area. Education is, by its very nature, dangerous because we have to deal with a multitude of different types of people. It's interesting that we blame teachers' unions when they're the ones who are just trying to fight to keep their jobs there and make sure that the students have an actual school to go to. If we want to move towards the idea of a private institution or that we just have to, that you can choose whichever school you want to go to, that's fine. But then let's stop having standards and let's stop having public education, because the point that you go to the school near you is not only just a good thing, it's necessary for education to grow.
Back to the question of whether it's a right or no. Basically, I believe it is an implicit commodity in the sense that it's an opportunistic right, is how I want to put it. Basically, that everybody should have the opportunity to it. Now, by no means does this mean that it's free. There's no such thing as a free lunch, as my mom actually used to say. Basically, we have to make it affordable, but at the same time, I believe if it goes through the government, we take this personal acceptance away that it's about the market, and the market will take care of it, and will drive down costs. Well, there's always personal investment and involvement with these investors who are leaving money for the opportunity for all of us to get health care. So it's something that needs to be, that the government needs to put through as an initiative through the Health and Human Services, but by no means is it by universal means that everyone absolutely has to have it. And I think that one of the things that I do agree with is that Senator Obama's plan does address that in the sense that it's there for everybody to get, but it's not mandated for any adults to have it. It's only mandated for children.
Okay, I know people have other things to say, but this has been very interesting. Quite a while ago in George Bush's administration, President Bush's administration, he was asked the question, can you think of anything you've ever done wrong? And remember, and there was no answer, which was really hardening. But I want to ask you something else different. I want the independents to step back and observe this and make comments about it at the end as independents. I want the Republicans to tell the Democrat, what do you think the Democrats have done or do well? Some issue, some decision. What do they do that's really cool, that you think is really great?
All right, I guess so. Could I say what Republicans have done wrong? Because I know a lot of those.
No. What do you think Democrats have done well?
Some of the things the Democrats have done well.
Not that they've done it well because it makes them more able to win an election or more skilled, but something you think is really valuable, you think is a good thing.
I think one of the things that I think Democrats have done a really good job on, and I think that is one thing that I guess Republicans have they're seen as not caring about it. And one of those things is education and things like healthcare. I mean, they really have their heart in the right spot. They want to make sure that people have those basic things they see as necessities such as education and healthcare. Now, I think they have their heart in the right spot, and I wish Republicans would come out, first and have a lot more of these initiatives. I mean, Democrats get the ball rolling, and a lot of Republicans kind of come back and say, okay, hold on, this isn't going to work, this is wrong, and then change it. But I think the Republicans should be coming out with their own plans ahead of time. So Democrats they've done a good job at getting the discussion going, but I guess I feel like they're taking it in the wrong direction.
I think it's one thing that Republicans do I think at every level of government is generally to be they ask the hard question of, is this fiscally the right thing to do? And while oftentimes social programs like education and healthcare cost a lot of money, it's important to do the hard analysis of whether or not it's what the right way to spend our money is. I think too often Democrats just want to spend, and they forget that, someone has to pay for it, and it's usually tax people. So I think that's important, but also it's great that more often than not, Republicans are able to get together, get their voting bloc together, and they get things done. If it's a priority, it is done. And they work together really well in that sense. Democrats like to let us think for ourselves. And in politics, you kind of need people to work together, you need to be able to count their votes. And Republicans are really good at it. And I agree with things that get done, not necessarily, but they do really well at getting those things done.
So what do you guys think about the interchange between the Democrats and Republicans?
When I think about the interchange,
Yeah, what do you think about what they said?
I think they're trying to think of excuses or things to say to be nice. But it was interesting.
Basically, I almost see it in reverse. You look at the last time we had a balanced budget, it was actually with a Democratic president. So I don't really see how Republicans, they do care about, is it fiscally responsible? But, I mean, if that's the threshold that we're holding to our elected officials, I would definitely say that they haven't done a great job in the past. A couple times they've had people in office. And at the same time, mandating some type of universal health care, that gets me on a different tangent, just saying we need to save the world. Basically, I think that idea is unrealistic, and it actually leaves us vulnerable as Americans, and that's our primary purpose, is to protect Americans.
Okay, well, as we wrap this up and go to the audience, I think before you guys ask any questions of the audience, I think you should all give these participants a big hand.